right, it is 2 o'clock, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining us. Today we're going to talk about the Village of Vancouver's broadband project update. Set here. Okay. Slides. All right, so today we're going to walk through some introductions quickly, and then we're going to talk about a summary of the project scope and benefits, review the project costs and the potential tax impacts, and then we'll talk about next steps and some additional project details. And then we will have some time for questions and comments at the end as well. All right, so starting with introductions, most of you likely know me. I'm Megan Sawyer. I'm the village administrator with the Village of Vancouver. Madison Dietzen is our deputy administrator. She's here in the middle helping run the Zoom today. Lynn Onersarg is our village clerk treasurer. She's joining us virtually. We also have the Georgia County Broadband coordinator here, Jessica Hatch. She's in the audience with us. And then we have our contract negotiation ad hoc committee members. One is here in person with us, Jean Husert. And then 2 are joining us virtually, Joe Megan and Brad Kaler. And that is our committee, and they've been doing the bulk of the work on this project over the course of the past couple of years. Our village board of trustees, John Heller is here with us. Joe Megan, who serves on the committee, is also on the board of trustees. Lisa Van Lannen, who I think I saw joining us virtually, and Angela Lynch and Cameron Miller are also on the village board of trustees. All right, so first thing I want to talk about today is what is fiber to the premises. That is the project that we're talking about. And we'll talk a little bit about how that's different from your current service. Fiber to the premises is a type of broadband internet that uses fiber optic cables to transmit data directly to your home or business. This broadband internet delivers high-speed service, which is more reliable than other internet technologies like copper cables or wireless technologies. And it is different because compared to those various different technologies, it is faster, more reliable, and easier to maintain. So that is what we're looking at today. The benefits of fiber broadband, there's a couple. Starting with the societal impact, the COVID-19 pandemic that we all went through a number of years ago, few years ago, definitely highlighted the challenges without having availability of high-speed internet. Many of us were asked to work from home, children were asked to do their schoolwork from home, and for a lot of us, it was the only way that we were able to connect with our family members in a time when we didn't have any other option. And I think it really highlighted the lack of reliable broadband internet, not only in our county, but across the world. According to a UW study, access to high-speed internet is associated with faster rates of population growth, higher levels of education attainment, higher third-grade reading scores, and lower levels of both present population reporting poor or bad health, and a number of reports on poor mental health days. There's a clear relationship between access to broadband and economic performance and overall community well-being. And with that economic impact, there was another UW study done that stated more rural areas within the U.S. find access to broadband is important in attracting new businesses, fostering entrepreneurship, enhancing farm profits, and even increasing the value of rural housing. So it is very clear from academic research that access to internet and broadband is no longer a luxury, but more so a necessity in today's day and age. Because of those different benefits, many of our neighboring communities have also embarked on fiber broadband projects. About half of the York County municipalities have projects that are currently underway or already completed. So this map here kind of walks you through where everyone is at in the process. Those communities highlighted in green already have fiber broadband connections made. Highlighted in yellow are under construction and in the process of installation. Highlighted in red, they're either they have signed contracts and they're in design phase. And then white are still either waiting on grant funding or making those ISP partnerships. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the existing broadband service in the building. So a number of years ago, reliable broadband internet was considered a speed of 25 megabytes per second as download and 3 upload. That used to be the standard. However, now the standard is 100 down, 20 up. And that is the benchmark that is being used for grant funding opportunities that have been established through the Broadband Equity Access and Development Grant Program. So that is really more of the standard. If you take a look at the map on the screen, on the left-hand side, you will see those that have access to the 25.3, and on the right-hand side, you'll see those that have access to the 120. So you can see Door County is well served by the 25.3 speed. However, it is not well served by what is now considered the standard. There is a large challenge even nationwide, especially in Door County, in terms of how we determine who has reliable service, just because of the transparency in the internet service providers reporting. So because of that, there was a local countywide survey initiative that was launched back in 2022 in order to try to attempt to collect more information on the internet service that is in the county. So the village participated in that survey, and as of July 2024, we had a 27% response rate, and that included 169 responses. 44 respondents indicated that they are unserved, they have no access to internet service at all. 43% fell in the underserved categories, which had speed tests in the range of 0.1 to 100 megabytes per second download, and then 13% of respondents indicated that they are served, and they're meeting that 120 benchmark. I just want to talk a little bit about the village's process. So back in quarter one of 2023, we established our initial broadband committee. That was a directive by our village president, John Heller, and the village board. They formed that committee and talked about a path forward in terms of how we were going to try to execute this project. The first step in that was issuing a request for proposals to a number of internet service providers, ISPs, that we asked for responses to. And we received some responses back. And as of quarter 3 of 2023, we started negotiations with Frontier Communications as our initial ISP partner. We worked through those negotiations for the remainder of 2023. However, in quarter 1 of 2024, for a variety of different reasons, we agreed to end those conversations with Frontier Communications and reissued the request for proposals once again. We then selected AT&T as our new ISP partner in quarter 3 of 2024 and began contract negotiation discussions with them. And here we are in quarter 1 of 2025. Making this public presentation to you all and hoping to bring the ISP contract with AT&T to the village board for the review and possible action at their meeting next week, Wednesday, March 12th. All right, so when we reissued that our request for proposals back in April of 2024, we received RFP responses from 2 companies. Those 2 companies included AT&T and Virtual Communications. The committee weighed each of the responses using the following criteria. Those included the project cost and the required village contribution, the proposed solution, the company background, qualifications, and capabilities. And ultimately, the committee chose AT&T as the village's ISP new partner, as they received an average criteria rating of 96 over Virgin 75, and that was a criteria score out of 100. Committee scored AT&T higher in the areas of project costs and village contribution, strength of the company, and the solution reliability. In terms of who will be served by this project, all village property addresses that were defined as of April 2024 when we issued that RFP are included in the fiber deployment listing in the project contract. And if your property was developed after April 2024, it doesn't mean that you won't receive service. We just ask that you check in with us. That way we can make sure that you're included in the deployment listing. Property owners will choose when and if to subscribe, and there are no term commitments. So you won't automatically receive service. You will have to reach out to AT&T, which if this all moves forward, there will be definitely more communication going out about how to do that, and then you would choose to become a customer of that if you would like. Now we'll get into what AT&T is offering and a little bit more about the cost and tax impact. And to do that, Joe Megan, who's one of our committee members and village trustees, is going to take over, and I will run the slides for him. So Joe, you go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Megan. Good afternoon, everybody. So as she mentioned, this slide kind of digs into AT&T's offering a little bit. So on the left-hand side, you see a couple of columns there representing different service tiers that AT&T is offering, beginning with 100 upload and 100 download speed for a cost of $30. That's available to residents that qualify from an income standpoint. I think you need to be 200% or less of the federal poverty level in income to qualify for that rate. The next rate, as you see, is 300 and 300 speed for $55, all the way up to 1,000 megabytes per second upload and download speed for $80. But this is more meaningful when you look at the right-hand columns, which is a comparison to current offerings and providers. So as a kind of the comparison point, we've chosen the AT&T 300 upload and download speed since it's significantly better than the different options currently available. So, for example, Door County Broadband has a speed of 25 megabytes per second upload, 10 megabytes per second download. Frontier numbers are even less. Charter Spectrum gets better, but 10 megabytes download speed. And then Viasat, is 100 a download speed. So then as you look at the monthly rate comparisons, AT&T is at $55 again for that 300 tier, compared to $70 for Door County Broadband, $79 for Frontier, $80 for, Charter Spectrum, and a big number there for Viasat, $240. So correspondingly, there's monthly savings and annual savings to those of you who are using any of those four vendors that would choose the AT&T service, ranging from $180 a year to over $200 or $2,000 a year. Next slide, please. So let's talk now about different components of AT&T's service, beginning with installation. So the base project with AT&T will involve them installing fiber on all the public roadways. And then they will run fiber from the public roadway to your home if you choose the service. They're not going to run fiber to everybody's home before they know, to anybody's home before they know that you're interested in the service. So as a part of that installation, again, being done household by household, the first 1,000 feet from the public roadway to your home is free. For distances greater than 1,000 feet, there'll be a conversation there, depending upon the nature of the situation. They provide a gateway modem, and for all customers, if you want to go the self-installation route, there's no charge. If you want to have a tech come out and do the installation, assist you through that, it's $99, one-time fee for installation. They also include, as a part of their service, some security features, which include, among other things, blocking of malicious sites and suspicious data transmissions. And then they have an array of customer support and education components, call center, which is available 24/7, mobile app. You can go to their store in Sturgeon Bay to get assistance if you want to talk to somebody in person. And they also have an education program to help manage the transition. They do provide a vacation hold, which is important for all of our seasonal residents. It costs $7 a month. They ask that you do it for at least 2 months and up to 9 months. Next slide. Okay, what is this costing us? Well, the village's portion of the cost is $2,163,000. of a total of 3,698,000 plus. So in other words, AT&T is contributing $1,535,469 to the effort. We are eligible and have received a grant from Door County for $15,225. Not a huge number, but every dollar counts. So that'll reduce the village's portion. And we will, as we continue to partner with AT&T, we'll be discussing with them other grant opportunities, specifically the BEAD grant. I forget what that acronym stands for, but it's a federal program, and we're going to see if we can take advantage of that, and that would decrease the village's portion and the corresponding tax burden to you. But we're not factoring that in at this stage. It's an unknown. So the numbers on this chart then that you see are all based upon the village's portion is currently defined, 2,163,000 less the county grant. So in working with our financial advisor, Joe Murray from Ellers Corporation, he provided us with the following table here, which illustrates what the tax increase is going to be associated with the borrowing that the village is going to need to do to be able to pay for our portion of the project. So the key number is 26 cents per $1,000 of valuation per property. So if you have a $100,000 property, it would be the property tax increase to you would be $26 a month. And then the columns on the far right illustrate a $400,000 property. So that jumps then to $106 per year of additional taxes. The tax burden decreases over time, as you see there, based upon just the different dynamics of village borrowing over time, and how Joe is projecting our bond offering will need to be made over the 20-year period. Okay, next slide. So let's put these two things together then, the savings opportunity and the property tax impact, and that's what this slide tries to do. So we start with, well, what is our loan payment? And that's going to be $194,603 for 2005. And that gets shared across the entire village, which has over 700 million in valuation. So that gets us to that 26-cent rate per $1,000 in valuation that we talked about in the last slide. Across the village, there are 29% of our parcels that are in that 100,000 or less category. And then you see in that table on the left-hand side, we've got 8% in the 100,000 to 200 range, another 6% as you move between 200 and 300, another 10% up to 400, and then 47% greater than 400. So the annual tax levy, of course, will increase or will vary based upon different tiers of valuation. So we've illustrated here each of these different parcel values. So ranging from $26 per year up to $260 per year for a home with a $1 million valuation. So then if you are currently subscribed or using Door County Broadband, and you are we'll use the example of this $400,000 value home, that $106 of additional property tax is offset by $180 of savings, which is the difference in the service fees between AT&T and Door County Broadband. So the net impact to you would be $74. And likewise, if you're using Frontier, the net impact to you would be a savings of $182. So each box within this table on the right illustrates what the net savings would be once you combine the savings opportunity with changing from your current provider to AT&T, less the tax impact. And all the cells that are shown in green there illustrate where you would actually be able to save money. And the two in the bottom part of the chart there for 700,000 and $1 million homes, there's a slight impact with Door County Broadband of $2 a year, and then $80 a year for $1 million home if you're using Door County Broadband. But in all other instances, there's a savings opportunity.
Joe,
Yes,
can I just interject one thing?
sure.
One thing that we don't show in this table is we're not weighting anything by bandwidth. And for example, if you're currently subscribed to Door County Broadband, you're getting significantly less than 300 megabits per second down and up. So you're saving money and you're getting much, much more bandwidth in most of these situations.
That's right. Yep. It's a win-win combination here of savings and better service, much better service. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
That was Brad Taylor, who's our other committee member, just so everybody knows who's speaking there.
I'm the technical guy. So I pay a lot of attention to these sorts of things.
Okay,
We're ready for the next slide.
okay. Thank you, Joe.
Take it over from here.
Yep, I can take over from here. Thank you. All right, so in terms of next steps, as I mentioned, on March 12th, which is next Wednesday, the village board will be discussing the feedback from this public meeting today and this evening, and they will be reviewing the contract negotiation committee's recommendation and considering the AT&T contract. If they choose to go ahead and approve that contract, we will sign the contract and begin exploring opportunities for grants through the BEAD program with AT&T, and AT&T will start the design process. The entire project from start to finish is anticipated to take approximately 2 years. Could be quicker than that, but 2 years is the timeframe that we're working on. As I mentioned earlier, in the event that this project moves forward, there definitely will be future public meetings held in conjunction with AT&T so that our community members can learn more about how they sign up for service, what the construction timelines actually look like once we have that contract executed and things like that. And as I mentioned earlier.
What time is the meeting on the 12th?
8 a.m.
8 a.m.
Yep, it's our standard village board meeting. They're always held the second Wednesday of the month at 8 a.m. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, like I said, we did start collecting some data via the local survey that was put out, the Door County Broadband Survey. I do have that linked here if you haven't had an opportunity to do that. Data collection from that survey does help with grant funding, so it's not too late to take that if you haven't had a chance. We will have today's presentation and the recording of the public meetings posted on our village website. So you'll be able to get this link right from the village website if you haven't had a chance to do that survey and you would like to. All right, we will move on to questions. We'll start with collecting some questions here in the room, and then if you are joining us virtually and have a question or a comment, you could either use the raise hand feature on Zoom, or if you use the Village Vic Harbor participant that is connected to Madison's computer here in the room with us, and she can read off her comment for us. If you have a comment or a question that comes to you after the meeting today, my email is here up on the screen, as well as Joe Megan, who I mentioned is one of our committee members and also on the Village Board of Trustees. Any correspondence that I received regarding today's presentation or any questions, I will be sure to share with the village board as we go into that meeting next week. So if you don't have a question, but just want to, make a comment about the project, feel free to send me those comments and I will share them with the village board at the meeting next week. And like I said, this will be posted on the website, but my email isn't hard to find on there either. So you're always welcome to stop by or give our office a call as well. All right. Anybody here in the room does have questions? Sure.
Sure. What is the rate line for the, from AT&T for those different monthly payments?
Sure. So the question, just to make sure that we heard is if there's a rate lock with AT&T for the monthly payments. And I think that the answer to that question is that it's just a competitive market.
So there is no
There is no rate.
guarantee, so they could
Correct.
increase it to $100 a month the next year.
Correct.
Okay.
And committee members to jump in.
Although I'd like to add, those numbers haven't changed since last year.
Yeah, so obviously, we did the RFP process in April 24, and we did confirm prior to today's presentation that those rates are still the same. Paula?
Yes, well, it's my understanding that AT&T provides internet service to the business community here down Highway 42. Is that correct?
I don't believe so, not as it stands
Who
currently.
does provide internet service? Who?
Current Spectrum?
Okay,
Yeah.
I live down South Trail Road.
Yep.
And Spectrum does not want to go down there, and nor did AT&T when I thought there was an option, but I'm not. So will my road be able to get this new service?
Yes. It is included. One thing I wanted to mention also, that I missed in the presentation is the deployment plan with AT&T is that it will follow, however the utilities currently are installed. So it will be aerial where the utilities are aerial, and then it will be buried where they're buried. So,
Thank you.
any other questions? Sure.
It's fine.
Yeah,
Some places that are 1,000 feet from the road, but there are some places that are much further than 1,000 feet.
sure.
How's that pricing gonna work?
Yeah, so the question was, this gentleman lives in Ames Farm, and there are some units in the development that are more than 1,000 feet from the road. And those conversations, like we said in the presentation, are yet to take place. However, we have had discussions with AT&T about our condominiums and how they will be serviced. And they are feeling confident that they would be able to service everyone in Ames Farm. Because we have a number of condominium communities in the village, we did do a cross-check of the address listing that we provided to AT&T to make sure that the address locations, the independent address locations within those condominiums were included in the address listing. And we did do that in Farm and confirm that, as well as almost all of the, if not all of the condominium associations in the village. Is there another question over here?
So a follow-up on that one.
Yeah.
Is there a prospect of those condominium associations being assessed for the extension beyond 1,000 feet?
Sure. Brad, maybe I'll have you speak to this. One thing I do want to mention is, each of our committee members actually, by chance, live in a condominium association. So this question was top of mind as we worked through this process. So Brad, the question was if there is a chance that the condominium associations maybe assess an additional cost for service. If you wanted to speak a little bit about that and our thoughts on that.
Yeah, there is a chance of that, but I think in all of well, at least the 3 condominium associations that are represented by committee members, and I'm pretty sure even beyond that, if the addresses of the individual buildings were submitted as part of the list of addresses that the village made available last April, and AT&T subsequently agreed to serve. What that means is that the way that we're interpreting this, and we brought this up with AT&T at least a couple of times. What the plan is to bring the fiber outside the buildings. So if all of the buildings are at the end of, in my situation, I'm at Fox Point. We have a 2,000-foot entrance road off of Highway 42. If their plan is to come in that direction, they've already said that they'll come down the entrance road and they'll cross in front of our buildings. And once they've done that, we're no further than, say 40 or 50 feet away from where the fiber is going to be. So we will have satisfied that within 1,000 feet criterion. Now, having said that, one thing that AT&T will want to do is to come out and talk to each of the individual condo associations and make some kind of an agreement with them, which it's not going to be very onerous. It's just, you allow us to come onto your property and install fiber. And just like everyone else, every other individual subscriber in the community, all of your condo owners will then have the opportunity to sign up or not. So, the answer to your question in a nutshell is I can't absolutely 100% guarantee that there won't be any further assessment to the condominium associations. But based on the addresses that were submitted, which are of the individual buildings in those developments, AT&T has agreed to provide, I'll say, curbside service to those buildings. And unless your building sits 1,000 feet away or more from the parking lot or the roadway that goes by the front of the building, you'll be included.
Even if that's a private road?
Even if it's a private road, both Anchorage Cove and Ames Farm have significantly larger private road systems than we do. And Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but what we heard from AT&T is that they would go down those roads. They wouldn't just stop at County E and say, okay, it's up to you guys.
Right, yeah, to your point that we have provided the individual addresses within the condominium association locations to AT&T, and they've agreed to cover those for the project cost.
If I can just jump in there too. AT&T will talk with the condo associations because not only do they want to bring the fiber into the property so it's available to the owners there, but also how they're going to bring the fiber in. We're at Anchorage Cove, all of our utilities are buried. We're going to want AT&T to bury their fiber, but that's a negotiation that will occur, or a conversation that will occur between Anchorage Cove and AT&T before they begin construction. And as Brad has mentioned, all of our buildings are definitely within 1,000 feet of the roadway where the fiber will be. Plus, there's an incentive for AT&T to bring it in there because bringing the fiber to one building can potentially mean 4, 6, or 8 subscribers because of the number of units in the building. So economically, it's actually to their advantage to bring the fiber to the buildings. But it will be a conversation that will be had with the respective associations.
Thank you. Sure.
It's my understanding that the town of Egg Harbor has a contract with AT&T. Has there been any discussions with the town administration as to how that contract is proceeding?
I'd like to jump in and just is Scott Davis, are you there?
No, I couldn't make it. I am here.
Scott, raise your hand if you're present.
Yeah, so Scott Davis is represented with the town for the broadband project. So Scott, if you wanted to just maybe share how the town's project is going so far?
Yeah, we're about 15 months or so ahead of where you are right now.
Yeah.
And if you've been driving around, you probably see the cabling going up everywhere and the fiber hubs being put in place and so forth. So it's moving along on schedule. We'd of course like to have it be faster. I live on a private road with about 20 houses on it, and the fiber is already on the poles in front of our houses, so it's moving along pretty well. We expect to see our first customers turning up in May or June.
Great.
So it's been a pretty good process.
Well, that's another good point to make is that we all won't have to wait until the end of the project to get service because AT&T turns up service as they go along. It's not that you have to wait until absolutely the end of the 2-year period.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? You have two? Okay, there was one, on the press computer here, it was related to condominiums and how the service would be brought in. I believe the conversation that took place, when that question came in, likely answered that, if not, let us know. Madison, why don't you go ahead and read the two that you have?
One, which was kind of just answered, with Scott talking, was, does this project include the town of Egg Harbor?
So the town has a separate independent contract with AT&T. They obviously are working with the same ISP partner, but their contract is completely separate and aside from the villages.
And then the second question was, if the village moves forward, will we as property owners be contacted by AT&T or someone to see if we want to connect?
Yes, and Chuck with us, he can probably talk a little bit more fluently about the process, but as I understand it, once the village signs the contract and the engineering and the deployment starts, AT&T reaches out to property owners via letter, to let them know service is coming. As I mentioned, there definitely will likely be more information meetings, or we can learn how and when, to sign up. But yes, there definitely will be contact from AT&T to property owners, letting them know that service is coming and pointing them in the direction where they need to look and go to sign up for that service. Sure.
How do we know if we're on the property list or not?
If you just send me an email with your address, if your name's Farm, I know you're on it though, so I already checked. So. Sure.
Sorry to be past.
No, that's.
First of all, I'd like to commend the committee for their work on this.
Yeah.
Joe and Brad and Jean do appreciate that and the volunteer work to get this to where it's at. And certainly do support having this broadband. But maybe, John, you could maybe address this question regarding the increase in taxes that we've been seeing over the years here, and this is one little thing. Are there any other issues coming up that we might see other increases in our property taxes as a result of some additional borrowing?
Yeah, so John's here.
Sorry, John.
Yeah, we do have a number of, well, Parks and Public Works has a list of projects that we've been considering, well, that they've been considering for years and years and years. And the Harborview Park, we're talking about redoing Harborview Park, so that's something that's coming down the road. We do have a borrow for fire engines, and what were the additional?
Some public works.
It's a public works equipment that is being finalized. So, basically those are the things that are in the scope. But, I'm very cognizant of taxes. But this is something that I feel, I'm putting money in my pocket after the taxes are assessed. So, I mean, I pay $85 a month now for really crappy service. And if the new service costs me $55, I'm making $30 a month. So it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. This addition. So other than that.
And I will say to that point, obviously, within the last 10 years, there's been a number of significant capital projects that the village has undertaken. And in terms of the capital improvement project listing, we're at the tail end of this. Broadband was a project in our purview when we did that capital planning. But, you know, to John's point, there are things that are out there in terms of projects, but I would say nothing, as large a scale as some of the projects we've seen over the course of the past few years.
Anything as large as this in the pipeline?
The broadband project? I would say no, we don't have pricing on Harborview Park yet. So you can't hold me to that because I don't have a price tag to share with you on that, but, you know, that project, we're very confident that we would have an opportunity to go after local grants or other grant funding for in order to offset some of those costs, so. Sure.
Yeah, this is for Brad, I'm a resident of Fox Point condos. Are they gonna bring the fiber out underground, or are they gonna bring it on poles?
Hi, Joe. Well, it depends on what direction they come in from. In no case would they put up utility poles in front of the buildings. If they come in from Highway 42, then, as you probably know, for part of that distance, ending at, I believe, around the LeBrun's house, there is aerial. And I would assume that they would come in aerially to that point and then go underground. Now, on the other hand, if they come in from the direction of what I call the five-way intersection there, South Trail and County Road B, Horseshoe Bay Road, and then going up the hill, Hillside Trail, the distance is much, much shorter, and it would most likely be completely underground at that point. But under no circumstances is AT&T going to come in and insist on putting up utility poles in front of our buildings.
Partially, it may be to the LeBrun property.
Correct, where we already have utility poles. And that's if it comes in from Highway 42.
Well, you got mentioned a 2,000-foot road, so I assume that's the way you were coming in.
Well, I just wanted to give that as an example.
Matt, do you have a couple more questions on that?
Yes. So Dan asked if the letter, when they're contacting, the residents, if that would be sent to the property address or our resident address for like seasonal homeowners. Like,
I would assume it's the mailing address, that's associated with the property. We would pull that data, from the property tax bills and share that with AT&T. Kind of detail yet to be determined, but that's the route I would expect to go. Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, what we did is got together and put together a marketing plan with AT&T. And it's, you know, it's letters, it's things they hang on your door, it's other media ways to push out. So they'll try to touch customers multiple ways.
Great, thank you.
And then I was asked if we could possibly show the pricing comparison slide again on the screen.
Sure, we definitely can. Before I do that though, I just wanna let you all know that, like I mentioned, today's presentation, my slides will move, will be shared on the village webpage. We do have a dedicated page to the broadband project. It is villageredharbor.gov/broadband, and we will have the slide deck and the presentation recordings on there tomorrow. So if there's any information, I'll definitely go back to that slide now. If there's anything else you'd like to take another look at, that would be your best bet after we wrap up today. This is the slide I think they were referring to, but Sean.
I hope this isn't a really silly question, but
Yeah.
we live in Point Beach.
Yeah.
If the broadband comes through aerially, because we have aerial wires there, every time the wind blows in a storm, our power goes out.
Sure.
Oftentimes, does that mean broadband could very well be out the same amount of time that electric power is out?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer, so I don't know if Brad. you have to know?
It's separate wire, separate service, so there's a good possibility, you know, if they pull down your electric wires that, well, but actually, it depends where the power break is. So,
But it's aerially, so if a tree falls on a section, and takes out the electric power, it probably takes out the broadband.
Yes, it will.
And your broadband
That's-
requires power.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, yeah, right, right.
Well, let's just go to the base of it. It needs.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah,
if
and
you have
that's
a
why,
standby generator.
Silly
you
question.
have-
Yeah, unless you have a generator.
Still have broadband.
Yeah.
which we haven't.
Sure, okay, sure. Carter?
Well, so this is for Scott. So once AT&T came in and you were given the option to move to them, did any of these other providers give you updated prices? you know?
We talked to every one of these providers and others as part of the process.
No, I mean, when it actually came time to connect, to choose to connect individually? You know, so what did you have before?
I have Starlink right now.
Okay, so that doesn't matter, right?
Mhm.
I'm just curious if anybody who has had the option, maybe this is a Jessica question, to jump on the new fiber if their previous provider, thank you, yes,
They certainly could.
but so you don't know if.
I don't
anybody-
think they will.
Okay,
And they tweet the pot, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jessica, with the pricing, but the speed, they need the.
Yeah, even if
backbone.
they lower your pricing, they can't be competitive with the actual speeds that they're delivering.
Okay.
So then there's not really a benefit if you're gonna match the price, you're still gonna have degraded service.
Mhm. All right. Any other questions? Sure.
About a year ago, I had heard that the conduit that was installed with the Highway 42 work through town and the burying of utilities, that Frontier was the contractor that put that conduit in and they claimed they owned it.
Mhm.
Has that been resolved?
That is Country's conduit, yes. So AT&T would have to service downtown with new conduit or some other solution. Obviously not aerial wires, that's not an option downtown any longer.
So that's part of the budget though, with AT&T, it's. If we do not, there's some.
Right. Right.
There's no way that Frontier would sell it.
If they would, that would be a conversation between the two entities themselves. So. yes. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Like I said, if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out or just comment to the chair prior to next week's village board meeting. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us today. And we'll be back here at 6 p.m. if anybody wants to join us again. All right. So, thanks so much. Have a good
That's enough.
Way in. Want to kind of go on the way out.
Everybody.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thanks all. Sign up here. Have a good afternoon.
You know,